Aloha, welcome to Tiki Tuesday Talks, very special edition this time. We're going to dig into the culinary side of things. We have a very special guest. I'll introduce everybody. Hey guys, what's happening? Gunnar.
All is good, man.
Thanks for joining us this evening, your time. Tell us about where you are, what's happening.
So, yeah, I'm Gunnar. I'm in Iceland. Calling you guys from restaurant Dill in Reykjavik.
Very cool. Caroline.
It's getting dark outside. It's 7 o'clock and, considering things are good.
Amazing. Tampa, Caroline, a little different than Iceland at night, maybe.
I think so.
I hope so.
I haven't been, but I have a guess.
I feel like I've heard Tampa is the Iceland of the South. I don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, I've heard wonderful things about Iceland, so
right on. Steva.
Hi. Birmingham is, balmy and beautiful and great as always.
Where's the plant? What's the plant status?
George is just stage left.
Oh, okay, resting.
He's resting. Yeah. Because I was set up for the cocktail, so.
Very cool. Aaron, you're muted, but I see a plant.
Yeah, I am at Baltimore with my tropical oasis here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Over here. This guy's really doing it. All right. Very cool. I'll talk you guys through what we have coming up. So, as mentioned, Gunnar, chef and owner of Dill in Iceland, Michelin Starred restaurant. We're going to talk about his amazing career, and we're really going to get into building the plate, taking a culinary philosophy into building a spirit with relation to Svöl Aquavit. So, as usual, chat box and questions. If you guys are on Crowdcast, you can include questions as well with Facebook Live. We'll get them over. Please do share the event, watch party, et cetera, always appreciated. Looking at about 30 to 40 minutes on the presentation, cocktail session, and then 5 questions with the Tiki fam. I'll share a little bit, although Gunnar's going to get into more detail. As mentioned, Icelandic born. He's gotten acclaim for his creative style of cooking, curious nature, and a love for reviving traditions. In 2009, in the midst of the crisis, he opened the restaurant Dill in Reykjavik. His contemporary cooking would celebrate Iceland's pristine ingredients and artisanal producers in a place otherwise heavily dependent on food imports. Nominated for the Nordic Prize and won Iceland's Restaurant of the Year every year since opening. He moved to New York in 2016 to open Agern in Grand Central Terminal. And both Agern and later that year, Dill received Michelin stars. Congrats on that. Super stoked to have you here. I'm going to remove you guys while we chat, and we'll bring you back later. Hey, man.
Hey, man. I don't know about like Restaurant of the Year ever since we opened. Like We've been open 11 years, but we've been Restaurant of the Year several times, but like not every year.
Well, I stole it from the internet, so who knows?
Yeah.
Everything's true that you read on the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Cool. Very cool. Well, super excited to have you here. As I mentioned, we deal with the bar world, most specifically a lot of the time, and/or distillers. So really stoked to have you kind of give a bit of a culinary perspective and also to think about, how that played into our project. Which a lot of people know about in detail, or certainly your role within it. So I'm going to throw up these. We have many, many beautiful slides.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of let you take it away from here as to kind of how you got started in your philosophy and all that.
Excellent. I mean, the slides are more for shit and giggles, I guess. But but it's kind of like fun to have them because they kind of show the atmosphere, shows where I kind of come from, what I see every day and etc. Where I get my inspiration from, and so on. So it's it's really something else. But apart from that, it's as well just like beautiful pictures, right?
Absolutely.
So like I was born and raised in the north part of Iceland, a small town called Akureyri. And when I say small town, it's actually like the second biggest town in Iceland, but it's like 17,000 people that actually lives there right now. 17,000.
That's the second biggest town.
Yeah, I mean, like I think like Iceland is like 240,000 people. Wow. I might be mistaken, but who knows?
Wow.
But yeah, so like I grew up there. I grew up like mostly a little bit outside of that little town, and we were like in the countryside. We had some horses, a cat and a dog. We had like a very nice garden, with my mother made sure that we were growing potatoes and vegetables as much as we could. I think it was like about 16. It was like 94 when I studying to become a chef at this restaurant in Akureyri called Fiðlarinn. And it's it was kind of crazy for me. So like I went to the school where I could kind of like learn the basics of like becoming either a waiter or a chef. And one of the teachers over there, she saw that like I enjoyed the environment. Like I enjoyed both things, front of house, back of house. Like it was just like something I enjoyed. So she actually like asked me one day like if I maybe needed like a little extra job or something, and try to work at the restaurant. And I was like all in for that, and I was hired like as a part-time dishwasher at the restaurant called Bautin in Akureyri. And I quickly realized that like if I was really quick at doing the dishes, they would allow me to help them to fill up the salad bar or even flip a burger or two. So I very quickly became a very quick dishwasher. And like believe it or not, like I actually really enjoyed washing dishes. I mean, it was.
What did you like about it? Because I can tell you, but
it was exciting. It's like like all the people were just bringing dirty stuff, and I would clean it, and it was kind of satisfying to have like stacks of dirty things, and you made them clean and took care of them and made your station clean and nice, and it's like it's just like it was very satisfying. But I guess like that's just how I am as well. It's like if I sit down to like answer emails, I have to clean all the area before, make it organized and nice, and then I can go to the emails. I'm not sure if it's because I enjoy cleaning so much or if it's because I hate answering emails, but
maybe a little of both.
Yeah, it's either a little bit of both probably. Yeah.
That's definitely an extremely Scandinavian kind of perception that you're totally verifying right now.
So like as I was working there, I quickly realized I enjoyed being in the kitchen, and I was actually going to like a language school in England to learn English a little bit better, and to do that I needed like recommendations. So like I asked the teacher at school if she would write me a recommendation letter, and my chef at the restaurant, and they both did, and now I had those papers. So I was like, like maybe I should go to that like one fine dining restaurant in town and check if they had like a job for me, and if I could become like a student there. And I came in there, and like and they greeted me very they were very friendly and nice. So I was like, like I like this place. Like I want to be here. And they were like, "Oh, we don't really have a job for you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So like I just kept coming there, like 2 times a week or whatnot, until they hired me. And 1st of May '94, I started working there as a student. And it's kind of like funny times, because like this is kind of like a little side note, because I remember, so my father had at the time had like a beautiful garden. He had like a lot of herbs growing there, like kind of like Icelandic herbs that were known for, like back in the days, to be used for cooking. And I would go there, and like he would give me like a lot of herbs and stuff, and I would bring it back to the restaurant and bring it to the chef, and I was like super excited. And I remember he would be like looking at me. He's like, "We can't use this," and like it would literally be like thrown away. And like the guys in the kitchen looked at me like I was some kind of a witch or something. So it's kind of like amazing, like how time has changed, right?
And when are we talking about this? This is like still in the mid 90s?
Nah, it's like 94.
94. Wow. Yeah.
But I had 4 amazing years at that restaurant. I really enjoyed my time there, and I think, like it was a small place. It was like in a small town. So I think actually like I might have learned more there than, other students would learn at bigger restaurants, where there are kind of like, more chefs and cooks and etc. And you're
doing more of the things. You're learning.
Yeah, exactly. And like you just get more responsibilities, right?
Right.
So like with responsibilities, like you just learn how to take decisions, act quickly, and so on and so on. So like it was really amazing. Then so I was there for 4 years. After that, I moved to Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland, and started working at a restaurant called Hotel Holt, which at the time was like one of the, the temple of fine dining, I guess, in Reykjavik. And I was there for about a year. And then one day, a Danish chef comes in and he eats at the restaurant. And after dinner, we started talking. And, he gives me his card, and he's like, if you ever want to come to Denmark, like I would love to give you an opportunity at my restaurant, like if I have a space and etc. And like the day after, I believe I sent him an email, and I was like, "Hey, like I'm all in." So I moved to Denmark, started working for Jens Peter Koldbæk at a restaurant called Christie's. I was there for some 6 months, and it was really something else, and like really for me, like a step forward. Not so much about like how you're going to cook a beef or something, but like more like the produce that they had there. Like he had he worked for a very long time in France, so we were getting a lot of like high-end produce from France. That's like I just had never seen anything like it at the time. So it's like it was really something for me. But it was like in the south part of Jylland, so like pretty close to Germany actually, and it was literally in middle of nowhere. So I very quickly needed a little bit more action in my life, I guess. And I talked to Jens Peter Koldbæk, was the chef and owner, and told him I would really like to move to Copenhagen. He called his friend Erwin Lauderbæk at Restaurant Saison, and I went there for a job interview. And like I think like because like I introduced myself in Danish, he just decided that I spoke Danish fluently. And he took the job interview, and I had like, I had some idea about what was happening, but like not like a full control. And then we started talking like salaries, and he said a number, and I had no idea what he was saying. I just said yes, and I love it. Like when can I start? and I started like 2 weeks later or something, and then like like the first paycheck was kind of a surprise.
In a bad way or a good way?
No, in a very reasonable way. Let's put it that way. I wasn't blown away, but I think it was very fair though. I was happy. I could pay rent, and I could eat and all that, so it was all good. I worked for him for a while, and then a friend of mine that I worked with before, he was working at this 2 Michelin star restaurant called Kommandanten. And he calls me and he's like, I just wanted to let you know that I'm quitting, and if you want, like I can, tell the chef about you, and like you could come and like replace me. And so he did, and I went there and got hired, and I had like an incredible time there. It was my first restaurant that like had like a Michelin star, and like it was like, for me it was absolutely thrilling. And the chef there, Mikkel Morbjerg, he was something else. Like, and actually like all those 3 guys that I worked with or like worked under in Denmark, they were just something else, and they all like taught me things that were like very different, but at the same time like really something that like just blew my mind. But at the same time so different, like being with Jens Peter Koldbæk that had been going for Bocuse d'Or and etc. His food was like very sharp and exactly like this way, and then you go to Erwin Lauderbach, that was just like a little bit wilder, and like it was just flavor, and like nothing else. Like I could have thrown the food on the plate as long as it tasted good. Like he would be pretty much okay with it. But it was like, but it had to taste like amazing, and like the ingredients had to be amazing. It was like how you plated it, not so much. And I'm not saying like it looked ugly. I'm saying it was just like not priority.
Yeah.
And then I went to Kommandanten. There's like 2 Michelin stars, like pretty French, but with a lot of like Danish ingredients and etc. But it's still like very different from the other places. So it's like I would say like the time working there, like I really got to see like a very nice spectrum of how food should be, or how it should be cooked, how you should search it, and etc. And getting to know like a lot of the people bringing in the produce was just like something else, and something I had never seen in Iceland. It's like it's just like before I moved to Denmark, it's like it wasn't like normal. Like nobody would just drop by on a bicycle to sell me mushrooms, but like like a normal thing in Denmark, right? It was very, very, very different.
Cool. So taking a little bit from all of those different experiences, effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then in 2003, I moved back to Iceland. Worked at like several places with some amazing people. I was working with a chef, Sigge Hall, in the beginning, who as well like really taught me a lot of things, not only about cooking, but as well like kind of like how to run a restaurant. And I don't really mean it like business-wise, but like, like how to have a restaurant and kind of like create a family instead of a company. And I really, really admire that guy and his wife, Svala. Like they were there all the time, and like, on Sundays, his wife would bring us a cookie that he baked at home. And, it was just like, it was very different from everything else I've seen at that point. And then after that, I started working as a sous chef with my friend Hau Kurmaur, who was the chef at the time at Vox at Hilton Hotel, and then I got to see like a big operation, which was obviously very different as well. It wasn't exactly like my cup of tea. I mean, I really enjoyed being there and cooking there and etc. But I felt like I was doing like a lot of battles that I had no intention of like being in. Might it be like I wanted more Icelandic ingredients, but like the ownership wanted this and that. Like so, it's like it's kind of like a situation where you're like kind of like you have a firm idea of what you want to do, and then you have like other people telling you what you have to do. Let's put it that way. So I quit there and took a little adventure, worked at a couple of places in Reykjavik, and then actually went back there as a head chef. And then I had like a little bit more freedom, but it's always like a big operation, and you kind of have to think a little bit about other people than yourself, I guess. I got a little bit tired of that, and one day me and my friend, who was actually the general manager there, we got the opportunity to open or to like rent a space in the Nordic house here in Reykjavik, who was actually designed and built by the famous Finnish architect Alvar Aalto. And like we went in there and like we were actually doing like a kind of pay party or something. And like I was standing in that restaurant, and like I was like what do you use this for? And they're like, it's like a cafeteria. And I'm like, this could be like an amazing restaurant. And like a week later or something, they contact me and they were like, are you serious? And like, if you want to go and do it, like by all means. And like so we decided to jump on that wagon in 2009. And it's like we go there and like things are good, like business is blooming and whatnot. And then like we had been there like trying to work on our concept, work on design and whatnot to open up the place. The whole like bank problems came, so it was like this big collapse, and all of a sudden our investors, they jumped off the wagon, and it was just me and my friend Oli left. And we kind of looked at each other and like asked the question if we should actually go back to Vox and ask for our old jobs back. But thankfully we decided to go for like a plan B, just do it without investors, do it as cheaply as we possibly could, and etc. And
lesson for now, for sure, huh?
Yeah, exactly. We managed to open up the restaurant. We were obviously kind of like freaking out because of the collapse, kind of freaking out because we had no idea if somebody would actually come there and eat. So we didn't hire anybody. Wow. So it was just me and him. I was in back of house and he in front of house, and we just opened up, and like it turned out to be a pretty busy restaurant. Like from day one, like lunch was packed, like every day. Evenings, they were a little bit more difficult, and it took like a longer time for them to kind of like come in, but they did. So like some couple of months in, like we realized that like we could not just be like me and him like running that place forever. So we hired some more people, and it became fun. In the beginning, because like it was the restaurant was located in the Nordic house, the whole idea was to, make Nordic food, have Nordic ingredients, and the idea was to get like ingredients from all the Nordic countries. And then we made like a beautiful vegetable garden outside, which is actually the picture we are looking at right now.
Look at that timing.
Yeah, exactly. You're good. You're good with the slides, man. But because of the collapse and because of the Icelandic krona just like dropped, everything that was imported became extremely expensive. So like almost like overnight, something that I was importing from Denmark just like doubled up in price. So we were like, we just don't have money for that kind of stuff. So I found out that we could actually, find different things in Iceland that were like cheaper than the imported ones. And then like that became our focus. Just like, I mean, I don't want to go so far to say like forget the other Nordic countries, but it's like we have to focus on Iceland and the prices. So that became like our main focus, and it was like extremely fun for a while. But then I was like, we need something more, like because I felt like we had already had on the menu every ingredients that you can literally find in Iceland. Or like so I thought at the time.
Right.
So I was like, okay, like, we had a steady flow of guests and business was okay. So like I decided to take my car and I was going to drive like around Iceland and I was going to try to find, something new, because with the collapse came like a lot of like young people that like lost their jobs and they started doing something in the countryside, food wise or something else. And I was like very curious to go and see those new things. And I took that whole trip. And actually, like instead of finding new things, I actually found old things. I found like older farmers like working like on tradition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it was kind of like things that were, kind of like had already fallen out of fashion and, nobody was doing it. So it's like, I was like, okay, what is this and what is going on? Like we have to do something about this. And like later on, I had like this food journalist eating at the restaurant. Her name is Jodi Eddy. And I've now written like 2 books with her. Truly amazing person and very close to my heart. And like, we might have gotten like drunk. And then all of a sudden she's like, like we should write a book about this. And I'm like, yeah, I totally agree. and then like a month later, I get this email and she's like, hey, like, I hope you're serious about this book because like, people are very interested. Like I've been pitching this idea. I'm like, sweet Lord. So we went on the road and made a beautiful book called North. And it's really something I'm super proud of. And kind of like my idea in the beginning was like almost like, we should skip the recipes. Like it should only be like interviews with the people I'm buying product from. Right? But like, obviously like nobody wanted to make that book, so I had to do recipes as well. And like, to tell you the truth, like I'm very good at a lot of things. Writing recipes, I'm piss poor at writing recipes.
I believe that.
Yeah, but because like most of the things, like there are like desserts and other things that is like everything has to be very precise. And, obviously we have that all written down, but like when it comes to like all the other things, it's all about like just doing things and feel it and smell it and like just like you just have to let it go and like taste it like continuously until it's amazing, and then you go. It's very hard to say like, this many grams of this and that. It's like, it's tough. It's very tough for me, at least.
Right.
But we made it happen, or I made it happen with help from good friends, I guess. But if we could go to the slide with the greenhouse.
Get there. Ooh, that's nice.
Look at that.
Oh, we're almost there.
I did send you a lot of slides, right?
Yeah, they're very nice, though. Here we go.
There you go. So, like, one of the things that I found out is like, I always had like this idea that greenhouses were like bad, right?
Mm.
And then I later found out that like, it's probably something that I read about or heard about abroad, because like a lot of those greenhouses, they are powered by oil or charcoal or whatnot. But in Iceland, it's actually, they're using geothermal heat. So like in this greenhouse, for an example, there is like a lot of heat coming from the ground. And this picture is actually taking in like middle of the winter, and the grass is almost green outside, right? And all the electricity that goes for the lights, it actually comes from our rivers. And I'm not saying that we should like make electricity from all of our rivers, like absolutely not. But we should still make enough to have those greenhouses, and that really make those greenhouses green, right? So it's not only that they are growing something green in there, but it's like the energy is green as well.
Yeah.
So I changed my whole idea about greenhouses on that trip, and all of a sudden, like right now, like I literally have on my menu a plate that has like rutabagas, it has chilies, coffee, and coriander.
Just things that you couldn't grow without the greenhouse in Iceland, basically.
No. I mean, probably not. No.
Yeah.
And like, especially not coffee. and like they do very little coffee. It's more like for experimentals, but still they can do it. They even grow bananas there. It's insane.
Wow.
You can do the next slide. So here we have my friend Elvar Ekelin, and I believe we have like several pictures of him, so you can go as you want. So Elvar is a very dear friend from the north. He actually has, he makes salted fish, like a bacalao. And he is like in a very small village called Höganäs. I'm not really sure like how many people lives there, but it's like, I don't know, 45 or something. And like most of them actually work for him or with him. And he is, I believe, 4th or 5th generation making saltfish over there. And he's still making it like the traditional way. So like kind of like the new way would be to get that cod fresh and good, inject it with salt and sugar or whatnot, and sell it as bacalao. But here you see this fish we are seeing on this picture, it's probably 8 to 9 months old.
Wow.
And that's how long he salts it. And this is like this is the real deal. I mean, like the flavor of this is just like something else. Like,
are you going to send me some of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something you can't buy it anywhere else.
Right.
Or like maybe you can buy it somewhere else, but it's still like in Iceland, it's just like it's such an old and amazing tradition. So it's like it's really something else. And like like when I first met Elvar, he was talking to me. He was telling me that like there's always fewer and fewer people that are actually making it the traditional way. Nowadays everything has to be fast and cheap, I guess.
Yeah.
Everything that takes time is a no-go. Here we have actually another dear friend, Gylfi. He has like a nice little farm by Lake Miva. where he's actually smoking both fish and meat.
Mm.
And he's doing like the traditional way. So he's actually using like sheep dung.
Wow.
So he's like literally smoking with manure.
Wow. And what does that impart to it?
Well, so it's like, I mean, it's kind of like a long story, and like one would think it's like easy as hell, but it isn't. It's like first of all, you have to have sheep, right?
Right.
So and during the winter time, all the sheep in Iceland are inside because of our harsh winters. So they'll be inside those houses. They will eat hay, grab a little bit down to the floor. They will shit on it and they will pee on it and so on and so on again. And then like they walk on it the whole winter and just press it. And in beginning of summer, all the sheep, they go wild up to the mountains, right? And the farmers, they can go in, cut down the manure, take it outside, and they will spread it. And it has to stay like spread for a while. So it has to rain on it, it has to snow on it, and etc. to kind of like, get the ammonia away.
Right.
And then they stack it up to dry. And then when they're going to start smoking, they have to go into the layers and find like a seed. There's like the right amount of moist in it. Because if it's too dry, it's going to go up in flames. If it's too wet, it's not going to burn at all. And not only they have to think about this, but they as well have to have like a house that they kind of like dig it in deep, and they have walls made out of like rocks and mud, and like a semi roof on it. So like the whole house has to breathe quite nicely to have like the right flavor. And like Gilby actually told me that like, when he actually got like really busy, he decided to build like a concrete smoking house. And I'm not sure if it was his like father or grandfather, like he kind of like made fun of it. And he's like, it's never going to work. And I can tell you now, he has restored the old house again, and he's now using that. Oh, stop there.
Yep.
Go up. The concrete smoking house, I actually believe he used it for his chickens now.
Got it.
So it's like, yeah, a lot of tradition. Go down. So this here, oh, sorry, you can go one up. It was my mistake. So this here is actually where by Lake Mewat, where they actually bake their rye bread.
Oh, wow.
So they're using the geothermal heat, where they dig holes and then they put the bread down there, and they will bake the bread down there in the ground. And so you can see like there's like several lids on there. So it's like each family actually has like a small hole where they bake their bread.
That's like another level of pandemic bread baking. You know what I mean?
I'm sure like the big hole there is it belongs to the hotel. I mean, it's something else.
Wow.
Imagine that being like a part of your work day. It's like to go and like dig down your rye bread, and then you could pick it up like 24 hours later. It's
What do we have here?
right? Yeah, and this is like from the same place. This is actually the lamb dunk, like what they used to smoke with.
Yeah.
Those are actually all the friends that lives in like Möðrudalur, which is like very much the highland, and they raise like some beautiful sheep and goats. That couple is really something else. And here you see like a leg of lamb.
Mm.
It's obviously half eaten by a monster or something.
Right.
But this is how it looks like after smoking.
Yeah. You can send me some of this also.
Yeah. And this one was actually hanging at the restaurant. So yeah.
This is, you always have one of these hanging.
Well, I have like 3 of them now.
Oh, okay.
And it's just like a beautiful picture of beautiful people. This is a dear brand in the east part of Iceland, pretty close to Egilsstaðir. It's like a small farm called Mother Jörð, and this guy is just like the pioneer of growing organic vegetable in Iceland. And him and his wife, they're something else, and they grow barley as well. All organic, all amazing. The flavors are something else. Obviously, this is a cow.
Yeah.
So a huge part of Iceland is the dairy business. And I'm not sure if I'm telling the truth, but I'm pretty sure that like no other country have as much dairy as Icelanders. It's just like
kind of thing.
Insane. and it's at the same time, it's just as well pretty amazing. Here we see in the Westfjords where they are actually drying fish. Another old tradition.
Yeah.
Where they salt fish, hang it up to dry, and eat it as is. They even said that like back in the days, it used to be like almost like a substitute to like bread.
Wow.
Where you just have this and you break off small pieces, dip it in butter and eat it. And it's really something else. This is my friend Simon, sorry. And it's like all my seaweed and mussels I get from him.
Wow.
And another guy that I've been working with for so long time. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And going out with him and like, pulling up those things is just like, it's really something else, right?
Yeah.
There we have some eggs. It's seagull's eggs. And if you go down again, that's my friend Tiki. So this is actually, he's a sailor, he's a captain in a small island north of Iceland.
Huh.
It's pretty much like the northest part of the world, I guess.
And this is how you get eggs. You rappel down.
And it's, I mean, like looking at this picture, it almost looks safe and nice, right? But the only thing holding him there and kind of like dropping him down is like a very old tractor that was like barely alive. So it's a dangerous job, but like you get pretty amazing eggs. And there's his his boat is somewhere there. It's in his island. It's a tiny little island. I think there's only like now, it depends on the seasons, but like I think that during summertime it might be around 45 people living there. I think like last winter I talked to him, and I think there were like about 5 people in the island. It's really something else, right?
That's pretty remote.
Really. Here we have like a couple of slices of the Icelandic goat. And very soon we'll get a picture of a lady with a goat. Oh, no, not that lady. One would say like this lady single-handedly like saved like the goats in Iceland. So it's literally like a race of goats, or what do you call it, a race? Yes. Like it's like since the time of Vikings.
Wow.
And it's all protected, so like you can't bring like goats from anywhere else. And like at a certain time in Iceland, they were almost extinct, and this lady kind of like took it up on herself with a little help from friends, I guess, to kind of like bring them back to life. And it's amazing to see some of those things, and it's like it would have been such a tragic, like if we would have lost them.
Right.
It's insane. And there you go.
Ooh.
Fermented shark.
Intense. I've had it.
Yeah, it really stinks.
It's like ammonia to me.
Yeah, it is. It's like I don't like it at all. I've tried several things to to make it kind of like eatable. It's impossible. But I'm like, I'm this guy, obviously.
He likes it.
Bless his soul. No, but it's like, I just can't take it. But like, I'm still kind of like trying to work on it. Like, I want to make it happen. I want to make it nice.
Right.
But like, I'll let you know when I get there.
All right, I'll be curious. Having had it, it's literally the most intense thing I've ever eaten, and I've eaten a number of things in a number of places.
Yeah. So this was kind of like how Dill was born, and now Dill is 11-year-old, and we are doing our best to get through those hard times that we're going through now because of COVID and all that, but we'll be there on the other end.
Yeah, keep fighting, man. We're all doing it.
Absolutely.
Well, let's connect the dots to how we got together and how we then got into this place of creating Svöl. Actually, I have a bottle. I don't know why I didn't have it here.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So a little, I guess I'll frame it up. When I came into this project, working with Jay and Jeff on it, what we were looking for was, how do we develop something with country-specific identities and formulas, unique, playing into some of these amazing notes that you've talked about of the countries of Scandinavia, really making something truly cocktailable and that complemented the base distillate and kind of connected to the tradition of gin, like really well-made gin, right?
Yeah.
So we ended up getting together through, I guess, a few different conversations that were had with Klaus Meyer and then working with you and Jonas. But we have a few slides here, but I'd love to hear about kind of your side of that experience of thinking about, okay, we want to create a spirit that respects the tradition, but has a new way of looking at it, which is really driven by that culinary approach.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to tell you the truth, like, when we started working together, I had kind of like no idea what was coming.
Yeah.
And like in Iceland, I had before been a part of making a spirit called Birkir. And it was like a burst 3 snaps.
Yeah.
And it was literally like, it came from like a dessert. So I was making a dessert that then ended up being like a snaps. But it was more like, I don't know, it kind of just happened somehow.
Right.
So like when we started talking, I was like a little bit like, oh, like, phew, like I'm not so sure I can do this thing. Because like, I was just like, I don't know how to do those things. I don't know how to distill, and like I don't know like the chemistry behind it all, and etc. And then we were just like talking, and I was like, I thought it was so interesting, and it was like challenging, and I was like, obviously I just wanted to do it, right? So I was like, like why not just think about it as food?
Yeah.
And like, it was like I built like plates every day, and I put together like those different ingredients and like layers of this and that, and it usually turns out fine, right? So I was like, like if we just think about making that spirit and we just make it that way, it could really be something, right? And when we started thinking about like the backbone, and then we're thinking about like all the different flavors, and like all of a sudden I'm sitting there, like first of all, tasting all the other aquavits that were out there, and kind of thinking about what is this and what is that, and like how should it be, what do we like, what do we dislike, and etc. And then like all of a sudden sitting in my office with like God knows how many different flavors like how many do you think how many different flavors do you think we distill?
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember you
Like-
coming in, and we make this with Alan Katz at New York Distilling Co. Shout out.
totally.
And I remember you coming in with, it must have been 60 different ingredients of all kinds of types,
Exactly.
Into the distillery, just the ingredients themselves, like dry, wet, weird, basic, like all a gamut of things, probably a third of which I'd never even heard of, right? And I remember we sat there and we kind of nosed things and we tasted it, and then we decided to kind of look at, we had a rough idea of the base. We knew it's caraway. We decided upon tasting it was coriander and lemon to be the backbone, right?
Yeah.
But then after kind of taking that list, then we made, I think it must have been 60 single distillates, right?
Yeah.
At least. I mean, it was pretty absurd. And some of them were pretty bland. Some of them were really weird. Some of them were great.
Yeah. I remember like that first like tasting where we had like all the ingredients and we were going through them. And it's like, some were just like, like we can obviously not do like a spirit that smells like this or tastes like this. It's like, just throw it out. Like, let's focus on other things. And then we ended up with, God knows how many, 50, 60 different types of like samples, which were just all like different ingredients.
Right. Right. And so it was run on this for little recollection. Jay, who's a partner in this, ran them on this little pharmaceutical still. So it's amazing what you can do with something that like you could literally get from a high school chemistry set, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to say it was
you did a great job.
Legally done per se, maybe, but yeah, it's amazing what you can get out of that and just learn from some basic runs, right?
Yeah, excellent. And and like looking at like, can you scroll one back?
Yeah.
It's like looking at those. It's like grapefruit, sea truffles. Like
right. There were some amazingly bad ones, some really interesting ones, and I think a lot of you
actually believe that like the sea truffles, they were awful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it was interesting.
Oh, it was definitely interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really interesting to see you with the process of kind of building the plate, if you will, of what will be complementary, and going back to the brief of, we want this to respect the country style.
Yeah, exactly.
Danish being more caraway, Swedish being more fennel, fresh, etc.
Yeah.
We want it to be complex, but we don't want it to be overwrought, right? Because you don't want a plate that's like 800 different flavors non-complementary, right? So I think that gets to building the backbone and thinking about how those play into Danish and Swedish individually.
Excellent. And it felt to me like almost like building the backbone was like challenging and like so much fun at the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of like try to create like a spirit that was just like lovely to drink, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was.
We could have made like the third one just called the backbone.
Yeah,
because like I felt like the backbone was like pretty amazing, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's interesting in working with botanical spirits, which was new for me as well.
Yeah.
There's almost no limitation. You can really go, like, the permutations are endless. So it's exciting, but it's also challenging to kind of start to get to some kind of basis point. So, we knew we wanted caraway. We knew in the Swedish style we were excited about dill.
Yeah.
Coriander ended up being a really solid base. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying, like, how many different types of like dill did we try before we kind of like?
We'll get.
I'm pretty sure like the kettle at New York Distilling Company is turning green, right?
Yeah. So actually, good point. This is actually
there you go.
where we netted out. So we tried dry dill. We tried dill seed. We tried cooking fresh dill. We tried different subtypes of dill.
Roasted,
right? Either lame or disgusting. I mean, really like funky in a bad way, right?
Your grandma's pantry and like what?
Yeah. So this is actually where we resulted on was macerating, basically cold infusing a ton of fresh dill into the base distillate,
Exactly.
which is part rye new make and part corn neutral grain spirit. So that was the only thing we could figure out to do that would still give us that fresh dill aspect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I personally think it turned out like extremely well.
Yeah. Totally agreed. We're not biased, but yes.
No. Absolutely not.
Yeah. But I mean, I remember tasting this one finally when we did it and just being like so grateful that we finally figured this dill out.
Yeah, me too.
So then the experiments, can you talk a little bit about, kind of now that we have the backbone and we figured out how to deal with the dill and we have all these different iterations, talk about that process that you went through, with the crew at Agern and your own thought process with it.
Yeah, so it obviously took a while, and it was like, it was kind of like, when we had the backbone, and the backbone was ready, and we could start like putting other flavors into it. It pretty much like came to me like it's like, like we can make like a recipe. So it's like as a chef, there are like certain things that goes together, and there are certain things that just do not go together, right? So for me, it was more about like, we take and make several different recipes where we blend all of those different spirits together, like literally like any possible way. And then we do that, and then we just have to start tasting, right? But it took a while, like in the beginning, because it's like, like a little bit too much of that or this is going to overpower. It's just like we had to be tasting it all the time, and like find the right measurements for the flavor to be like in balance, and then we had like, I don't know, like in the beginning probably like around like 20 different types of aquavits, and then we just had to find out which one was the best.
Right.
And like, like the only way to find out was heavy drinking, I guess.
We're good at drinking it too. Yeah.
No, but it's like like I had them all lined up, and then I would be like at work, and I would go and like do like blind tastings. So I would go to my sous chefs, my cooks, sommeliers, bartenders, like literally just everybody. I think like, people were like just kind of thinking that I was just trying to get them drunk all the time. It's like, but I mean, it's like, the more we tasted and etc., we could be like, okay, like, this one is going. It's like, it's never anybody's favorite. And then we just kept going, right. And like tasting and etc. And like, like sometime like, one would say like, nobody's going to drink this, but it would maybe be my favorite. So I would be like,
I would.
Like I'm holding on to it. And then like, like later on, it kind of like went away again. But it was like, it was like an adventure to create this. It was like a roller coaster. It's probably like, one of the most fun like projects that I've ever done. Like,
that's great to hear.
It was just incredible.
It was really interesting because when we were going through the process, it's not just about what ingredient, it's about where are you sourcing the ingredient.
Yeah,
which one is the best, right? Like the caraway that we found is Finnish caraway, which we determined that we understood is now the biggest producer of caraway, and it's infinitely different than African caraway, which is more common. And then it's, well, how much caraway on a single distillation? Then it's how much caraway relative to all the other flavors, right? And Some flavors were super interesting.
And like, how many colorways did we try? It's like, it's insane.
Yes.
And then when we found the right one, we tried fresh, we tried roasted, we tried baked.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah. So actually, here's a little bit of an example of how Jay helped us think through this.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you see levels of each, right? Low, medium, high, right? And how did we start to balance each, and where did you lose it, this flavor, or add this flavor, and how did it come through? And it's really interesting to look back on this, but it's amazing when you go too far, the flavor is just too much. When you don't do enough, you're not getting it. And kind of how do you create that balance between all the elements?
Yeah, or when like one is overpowering the other and etc. It's like, that was like, I think like that was like the biggest challenge.
Right. 100%. Actually, there's a question here. Was Arctic time
the biggest challenge, like after the backbone thing?
Right. There was a question here. Was Arctic time tested? And the answer is yes. We did test it. We found it kind of interesting, but we ended up using lemon verbena instead. So I think there was a number of things that we tested that we really liked and could make an appearance in the future, you know, in further iterations that we might do, but didn't make sense for the SKUs that we're creating at the time.
Yeah, I actually asked Will thing, like if I remember correctly, that that we had like difficulties like to get the Arctic time actually transported to the States, right?
Yeah. So if you guys want to see here, I guess I'll make myself large for 1 second. So it's actually on this is the botanicals are where we source them, and so we're super transparent about it. If you want to try and make it at home, go for it. Good luck. But yeah, I mean, it was really so, it's amazing, and you know it conceptually that when you get things from different places, they're going to taste different. But just tasting some of the different aspects of pine bark here versus pine bark from this country versus pine bark from somewhere else, and how that impacts the flavor profile. But then also, can you get it? Can you get it consistently? You know, do you need to do some weird, you know, sourcing from some random person who you can't even set up an account with, right? I think that was another piece of it that we weren't really sure about, you know, and we had to kind of learn along the way.
Oh, absolutely. It took a while.
It took a while. And then finding the balance again. So what we did is, after working on that little micro still, if you remember, you know, we then moved it to a medium-sized still. So this is actually in Warwick, New York. And we started experimenting with balancing of different botanicals on a larger still, and then testing that in a few different iterations, right?
Yeah, excellent.
And it was, you know, that's Jeff there. By the way, Jeff Diego's a partner on this. But really interesting to see that. And by that point, you're kind of placing some bets, because you're basically going to throw most of this stuff out, unfortunately. And so you want to be pretty close at that point to making the right decisions. Now, I think, I don't know if you remember this, but our favorites of these two, we actually threw them in ex-rye barrels from Allen.
Yeah, excellent.
So I think the Swedish one is actually going to be ready pretty soon. So I think we're going to release that. I mean, we have one barrel, so it's not going to be very large. And if you guys are interested, definitely want to get your hands on some. But pretty excited about that.
You better keep a bottle or two for me.
Yeah, man, I got you.
And it actually, like, as well, is kind of like a funny story. That's like, when I started talking to you guys, and you were like, you know, like, we are working with this distillery and whatnot. And I was like, oh, sweet Lord, now I have to take the train upstate, or like north there. And then you're like, oh, we're doing at the New York Distilling Company, and it was like a block away in Greenpoint. I was like, oof, okay.
Right.
Couldn't have been better. And I love those guys.
It's amazing. Yeah. And I mean, you were literally had already been there, knew them well. I mean, it was definitely came together nicely.
Absolutely. So good.
So yeah, but when we went to this kind of like bigger distillation, now you've got more cook time. You have to think of the botanicals are going to be there longer. They're going to be more expressive or less, depending on how that all goes, right? So we're finding, again, that balance of all this. This is a little reference to how we decided on, if you remember, Gunnar, we were talking about how much of this rye new make do we use versus how much neutral grain, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that took a while as well, right?
Yeah. It did.
It's like, I don't know. It was just like kind of like finding that like right balance.
Yeah.
Where we could, because like at some point it started tasting too much like whiskey almost, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So it was like
character and mouthfeel.
Exactly.
But we needed to make sure that the botanicals really shone through.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And it was kind of like more about like getting body to the, the end results.
Yeah. And then we went to the big still, and we kind of put our money where our mouth is and did a run. We essentially just said, this is it, let's do it, which was pretty scary.
Very scary.
And then, then we were here.
Exactly.
So with that said, anything else you want to add about that process?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all.
We covered it. Covered everything.
If something like, I can't wait until we start on the next one.
Yeah. Good seeding. We're going to be doing an aged Norwegian style, which will be potato-based.
Exactly.
If DHL could ever get you these samples, it'd be great.
Exactly. That would be amazing, right? But it's just like really something else, and it's like it really makes me so happy to be a part of this, because like not everybody would have gone through all this shit show of actually making it, because like it took a long time. We made a whole lot of distills. We went back and forth with the backbone and etc. I mean, it's like it just took so long time, and it took so many distills and like so much alcohol and etc. But at the end of the day, I think it was all worth it. And like those two types are, even though like I'm saying it, but it's like I really do enjoy them. It's like they're smooth as hell to drink as they are, or mix them into a cocktail. It's something else.
Yeah. Cheers, man. This was a great journey with you. Actually, speaking of cocktails, let's bring Steve in. Why don't you tell us about this cocktail, Gunnar?
So it's like at Dill, we don't really have a bar, but nonetheless, like I do have a bar. It's in my office, believe it or not. But it's more like it's not so much that, it's more like I have spirits there that like we're not really selling at the restaurants. And we don't do cocktails at the restaurant, but like, I still like to have them. So it's like if there is somebody that comes in and wants this, like, I might have it, at the office. But more importantly, it's like, every now and then, like I get some good friends in for a dinner, and if they actually come in late enough, like when they stop eating, I might not be busy, so like I can invite them back to the office and like put on some nice music, and I'll make them a cocktail. And my absolute like favorite is a Negroni. Like there's just something to it. It's like I love that like sourness and bitterness and etc. It's just like it's something else. So like one day I'm there, I'm making this cocktail, or I'm like making a Negroni actually. But like I realized like I didn't really have everything for it, so like I ended up like adding like a pickling liquid from some very peppery cucumbers and some pickled chilies actually, and I mean it turned out very nicely.
Let's go to Steve. I'm making this drink right now.
Exactly.
Tell us what all goes in your pickling liquid.
I'm just thinking it's kind of like unfair. Like she's the only one that gets to drink it.
Yeah. I never get the drinks on this show, man. It's not right.
I've tried to make many drinks. I don't know why you haven't made a drink for yourself. I feel like you're empowered enough to do that.
I'm gonna have a little bit of Svöl by itself right now. Actually,
Also, you live with a bartender, so
There you go.
she's bartending right now.
There you go. So no cocktails for
Back
you.
to my own devices.
No, the two pickling liquids is like so for the cucumbers, like it's a pretty like usually like when I make pickles, like I make them very sour.
right, same.
So it's like a lot of vinegar, like next to like water or sugar, and sometimes like no sugar, no water. It depends. But for those cucumbers, there was like the pickling liquid and like a lot of dill and a lot of peppers. And for the chilies, it was pretty much just like a pickling liquid and the chilies.
Okay.
Looks super straightforward, but like spicy and nice.
Yeah.
So it's like for me now, it's like it's getting pretty cold over here. So kind of like it spikes it up a little bit and like
yeah, for sure.
makes it interesting. It's really something I love.
Yeah, that's awesome. I garnished this with some pickles that I made.
Oh, tell us about your pickle process.
I'm also a pretty sour, pretty vinegary pickle maker.
Yeah.
I really like vinegary things, and so all of my pickles are tart and sour.
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah. So I had some Japanese cucumbers and made these pickles.
Let's see it.
Many pickled things in my.
Perfect.
Nothing worse than getting a sweet pickle when you don't know it's
All
gonna
right.
I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
Yeah.
Just say it right.
that's not the reason we are doing it. Like,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
but it's like, I feel like for me, it's like in general, I don't really like sweet things.
Same.
I don't like sweet drinks. I don't like sweet wines, and so on. So
My only caveat is a pina colada.
Now we're on Tiki Tuesday talks, so
I actually like
that.
I would take that pina colada every day.
Yeah. I wish. Yeah. Don't lie about your love of a coconut.
Actually, I love a pina colada.
Right. It's the perfect drink, so I can't imagine that anyone hates it.
I can understand
very
that.
good.
Yeah.
Gunnar, you've been awesome. Thank you so much. If you guys end up out there, pandemic pending, please do check out Dill. Amazing place. Really
Absolutely.
fun having you on. Here's your info if anybody's looking to get in touch. Anything else you want to add?
No, thank you so much for having me. It's like such a pleasure.
Dude, it was great. Without further ado, though, we're going to bring on Caroline. Thanks for being so patient.
Oh, of course. I had a blast.
Yeah, that was fun. Very calming. Very calming. I feel like I'm there. It's weird. I'm in the middle of the desert. It's going to be probably 90 something today, but somehow I was just transported to Iceland.
Right. It's beautiful. Incredible. I don't even want
All
to
right.
know this
Are
outside.
you ready for your 5 questions?
I think so. Let's.
All right, cool.
Oh.
Favorite word Steve uses regularly?
I really liked hearing her say caveat just now. That was really nice.
Heard. All right. Favorite meal, Wildwood?
Oh, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a common answer, but obviously the meal that your parents cooked for us was incredible. So I'm going to go with that.
Right on. It is common, but it is delicious. I didn't even get it this year. Fucking pandemic, All right. Weirdest thing you saw in Wildwood. Weirdest thing.
Weirdest thing. Oh, man. I think it was all of the different kinds of fake palm trees everywhere. I think that was like my favorite weird common thing that I saw.
You know, it would be a really nerdy thing to write like a book about fake palm trees. You know what I mean? Like you categorize them. You know, I could see somebody doing that. Somebody in the tiki scene. I think, didn't somebody ask if they were real at one point at one tiki, Steven?
I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure that happened.
I'm sure.
We're like, yeah.
This is why I don't let them ice people, because otherwise they ask me questions like,
I forget who asked it. Somebody definitely asked if they were real. That was amazing. What a moment. All right. Favorite Tiki by the Sea memory?
So I think, honestly, it was the first, I don't know if I want to, I guess, call it breakfast at Captain Dan's, I think it was. And when everybody kind of got thrown into the room and started kind of like mingling and introducing each other and stuff. I think that was probably my favorite part, because it was just, everyone was so excited and you could like really feel that energy in the room.
Yeah. That is very cool. It's funny because the first one we did was just like a bunch of friends of mine kind of like dragging themselves out of bed, and we're like trying to locate everybody. And I remember by like the third one, people were like early and like awake and excited. And I was like, what the fuck is happening here? Like, it was I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm like, yeah.
I instill the love of punctuality into people. That's what happens.
There you go. There it is. The iron fist. Steve's iron fist of punctuality. All right. Talk to us about Tampa right now. What's going on? What's the vibe?
Right now, it's actually been pretty, well, save the last maybe 2 days. I haven't been outside yet today, so it's actually really beautiful out right now. We had actually a couple of days of like cooler weather, which was really nice, but overall it's been super hot. Right now the state of Florida is open at 100% capacity now, but a lot of our businesses are choosing to stay within the 50% just to kind of like, we don't really know. So that's been wild. In the last week or so, we've seen a major increase in people just going out and being in public and stuff. Traffic's crazy again. Overall, I think that our community is coming together really well, which has been a really beautiful part of this whole thing. And
that's great. Glad to hear that.
Oh yeah. And the general climate is hopeful. So that's good.
I think that's all you can have at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Steve-a, what did I miss?
I think the only thing you missed is talking about next week.
Let's do it. Let's talk about next week. So we have a frequent presenter at Tiki by the Sea, John Arroyo, along with Glendon Hartley, going Art of the Blending Part 2, from the blender to the slushy machine, graduating, if you will. Very exciting, sponsored by Plantation. Hope you guys join. Let's get this guy back in. Gunnar.
Yes, sir.
We're out. Thank you so much. Get a good night's rest over there. Have a Negroni. I think we got some Svöl over there. Oh, there you go. Over here. That's cool. Cheers. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Excited to be back next week.